Welcome to the Cool Kids Live review and spoiler discussion of The Killer, David Fincher's newest masterpiece. And
apologies for the delay. We were out conquering the universe, and we came back with the Dr. Pepper.
That is true. Yes, yes, we did. It's not easy being a good-looking fat guy. So, right, John?
That would mean I'm good looking, but I'm not. So,
well, anyway, if you've seen the show, you know the format. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, hold on, let me get my review out. I'll start us off. Hold on, if I can bring up my review. All right. So on my personal Mount Rushmore of greatest directors of all time, there is a slot reserved for the inimitable David Fincher, right between Stanley Kubrick and Akira Kurosawa. His darkly gorgeous films, doused in cynicism and laced with a wry sense of humor, sing sweet music to my tortured soul. Two of his masterpieces, Fight Club and Seven, are among my favorite films of all time. His Netflix series, Mindhunter, captured my true crime-loving, serial killer-obsessed heart. So needless to say, I highly anticipated the release of this latest film of his. Well, the question then obviously becomes, was I disappointed? Are you fucking kidding me? This is David fucking Fincher. I even liked Mank, for crying out loud, or at least I wasn't pissed about it like everyone else was, even if it was admittedly far from his best, such as The Curse of Being So Damn Good. Of course I loved it. Of course I love this film. This is perhaps the most introspective film Fincher has ever done, a deeply personal analysis of the problem with perfectionism from a notorious perfectionist himself. Starring Michael Fassbender as the title character, the killer, the film focuses on the inner life of this cold, methodical professional killer as he struggles to maintain his composure while everything around him goes to shit. Thus, much of the film rests on the shoulders of Michael Fassbender as his inner voice provides the lion's share of the dialogue, and he nails it in one of his best performances. It's very much a dark comedy, as, for example, every time the killer monologues about sticking to the plan and not improvising, something goes wrong and all hell breaks loose. It quickly becomes apparent that this guy is not as in control as he pretends to be, that his internal monologue is intended to convince himself more than us. He pretends towards coldness and a lack of empathy, and over the course of the film, it becomes apparent that, as Shakespeare said, he doth protest too much. He monologues about careful planning, yet he completely screws up the shot as his intended target, when the time comes. He monologues about not making things personal, yet he relentlessly pursues everyone involved in hurting the woman he loves, despite the fact that, as both his boss, Charles Parnell's Hodges, and Tilda Swinton's The Expert points out to him, he knows these are normal consequences to failing the job in the profession he's chosen. He monologues about not showing mercy, yet at the film's climax, he shows mercy to the client who paid to have him killed in the first place, leaving him with an empty threat, and that's it. And whereas Tilda Swinton's character jokes that getting out of the life is the false hope that everyone hopes for when they first get into it, that is exactly what he does in the epilogue, having become comfortable with the idea of not being extraordinary, of being just like everyone else. It's a very satisfying conclusion for a character we've come to know so well by the end. The film may be said to be an allegory for David Fincher's own career, the quest for the perfect shot from someone who, at this stage of his career, scorns the very idea of an auteur, as he knows full well from experience how impossible it is for any director to so imprint himself on a film that he has controlled every single aspect of the chaotic filmmaking experience. It's a fascinating film on many levels, and I look forward to multiple rewatches in the future. This one definitely belongs in my top 5 Fincher films of all time. And my rating is a very, very enthusiastic 9.5 out of 10. And next, I will turn it over to my politically challenged brother here and fellow Tool fan, Cinematic Sterling.
Kind of ironic because I'm wearing a Pussifer shirt. But I'm gonna be winging this review because they back his writer's block and I came home from work not too long ago. But I haven't seen all of his movies, but from what I've seen, like David Fincher has always impressed me. And he does it again. This movie was fucking fantastic. I really don't have any negatives with it. I loved first things. I mean, obviously, David Fincher, he directs his ass off. This movie shot great. It's edited great. The filmmaking really shows. Acting is phenomenal, especially Michael Fassbender. Two of my favorite aspects of the movie. One was the soundtrack. And it was primarily the Smiths, and I fucking love the Smiths. So hearing songs like "How Soon Is Now" and "Shoplifters of the World," like oh shit. And while I wonder, I'm just jamming out to those songs while I'm watching this movie. I love but my favorite part of the movie is easily the dialogue. This is such awesome fucking dialogue. I love how the killer explains how he does things, why he does things, and his planning. It's just so fascinating to me, just seeing how this guy works. And even though, he's a hitman, you're not supposed to love someone who kills people. I liked following this guy. I found him to be very interesting and very fascinating. All the other actors do a great job too, especially Tilda Swinton in the little bit that she is in. I loved the story. I loved the metaphors and themes of kind of paralleling between this and Fincher's career. Like Mark said, I never thought about that until he said, I'm like, yeah, you know what, he's got a point. But I definitely plan on watching this again instead of watching the Marvels. Watch this. Or watch the Holdovers. You can watch the Holdovers. But I know I'm not saying much because, I mean, honestly, what else can be said? It's David fucking Fincher. I haven't seen Alien 3, so I don't know how bad that movie is, but all the stuff I've seen from him, he has impressed me nonstop, and he continues to do it again. This is one of my favorites of the year. I give this a very strong 9.5 out of 10.
Okay, so let me say that even though I haven't seen every single one of David Fincher's movies, from what I could say, from what I've seen of his, he is a brilliant filmmaker. From Fight Club to The Social Network to The Panic Room, Curious Case of Benjamin Button to Gone Girl, etc. I have yet to see Seven or Zodiac. Yes, insert your Rob is not a movie critic comment here. But anyway, Alien 3 was a bit underwhelming, but I mean, I'd say for the most part, it was he is still a fantastic filmmaker regardless. With his new film, The Killer, when it was announced, I was excited. Shit, I lost it. Fuck you. Let me go ahead and where was I? Damn. Okay. Oh, with his new film, The Killer, I was excited, and I could say that David Fincher knocks it out of the park once again. What can I say? The acting is fantastic. Michael Fassbender, he does a wonderful job with the unnamed killer who fails an assassin attempt and just gets caught up in this Manhunt. He's a very cold, method, calculating kind of guy who tries to perfect his shot every chance, and when he screws up, it's coming to bite him. He's a Michael Fassbender. He's a fantastic actor, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he gets like a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars. When does shit Swint but Tilda Swindleton, she does excellent as well. I know that everyone does fantastic. It's shot well. The editing is brilliant. The music is very suspenseful. I was invested in the story all the way through. I would say that if I had one complaint, it's probably more of a nitpick. I feel like the first 20 minutes could have been shaved a little bit. I mean, I get why it's there. But I feel like it could have it takes about 30 minutes for him to completely fuck up the shot and all. And I get what he's trying to do, but it just feels like it could have been shaved off just a tad bit. But that's probably more of a nitpick than anything. Other than that, I really don't have any other complaints about it. This film is just wonderful. This would be right up there. This would be at least in my top 5 favorite David Fincher films. And I would say whether you're a fan of his or just a fan of great movies, I would say definitely check this one out on Netflix. And my score is a 9.5 out of 10.
First off, fuck all of you for Alien 3 hatred. Alien 3 is a masterpiece. You can all go fuck yourselves. Now let's get into The Killer. The Killer, the love child of Dexter Morgan and Jason Bourne, and puts both of them to shame. I am very happy to state that, unlike our titular character, David Fincher did not make a methodical routine out of mediocrity after the very disappointing Mank. Michael Fassbender, after 4 years of not appearing in any film since the very disappointing final film installment of the Fox X-Men franchise Dark Phoenix, reminds us why he is a force to be reckoned with, not just as the killer, but as an actor. He gives arguably one of the best performances of his career, and it is flawless in every sense of the word. While there is little of a noteworthy supporting cast outside of Tilda Swinton, they all give worthwhile performances. Fassbender is the star, though, and he is absolutely magnificent, giving us a raw yet methodical character that, despite the flub early on in the film, still shows why he is the best in his line of work. His deadpan humor is also great, whether that be through his narration throughout the film or his use of famous sitcom characters as his various aliases like Felix Unger and Archie Bunker. Although not giving us much, it was nice to see Darren Norris outside Nickelodeon here, although certainly an intriguing addition to his filmography. The editing is quick yet methodical, just like our main character, which I'm sure Fincher did on purpose. With what little music there was outside of the use of the Smiths, it was quite good, but I preferred the lack of any music or sound because it added to the overall idea surrounding this main character. Another thing that I really liked was the fact that it used modern technology to its advantage. Usually when it comes to movies like this, they try to make it as bare bones as it possibly can go, to make it feel more like a 1970s film that this subgenre heavily borrows from anyway. But luckily, Fincher is so excellent at his craft that he can just make it feel like that from tone, aesthetic, characterization, and story than just being afraid to use technology. Fincher heavily depends on the modern world to tell its story, whether using fancy modern gadgets that would make James Bond jealous or using Amazon's locker system to get a package. It feels like a movie that takes place in 2023, and I really do appreciate that when other lesser filmmakers would be afraid to go that route, somewhat similar to the John Wick franchise, even if I do love that franchise very much. The story is entirely predictable, but the way it showcases its story feels unique. You fully expect things to go wrong and the various conventions that take place in films like this to happen, but they never do. You wait with bated breath to see the killer fight one of his organization, or for there to be a major flub somewhere, or the shoe to drop, but it never seems to go that way. And honestly, despite the fact you can see the story coming from a mile away, you don't expect it to, which is honestly kind of bonkers when you think about it. And Fincher brings his classic nihilistic style to the whole thing, while also keeping it somewhat grounded, like The Game or Seven. It certainly is a return to form for Fincher, and I am very thankful for it. It helps that it is It helps that it is excellently paced, which, after the incredibly sluggish and dreary Killers of the Flower Moon, I was very much thankful for. See, Marty, this is how you pace a fucking movie. It's 2 hours long, but it never feels like it. It went by swiftly, but not to the point where it feels like whiplash. Just to the point where you have to pause the movie to take a piss. You're shocked with how little movie there is left. Overall, I am very much thankful that Fincher wasn't in a rut and delivered yet another contemporary classic to his long list of films dating back to the even very divisive Alien 3. We will inevitably see more from him, and I cannot wait for it. And with that, I give it a 9.5 out of 10.
All right. So, while I have not seen every single film that he has directed, I have seen enough of them to where I can confidently call David Fincher one of my favorite directors. Seven is one of my favorite films, and The Social Network was a pleasant surprise for me because while I knew that it was one of the most critically acclaimed films of like the 2010s, I just personally wasn't looking forward to it, but it pleasantly surprised me. So going into this film, after I don't know what was the last film I saw from him, but it just was a pleasant surprise to see him coming out with another film, and thankfully he did not disappoint here, not whatsoever. At first, I felt the pacing was off, but I quickly got used to it because I saw what they were going for. The pacing invokes that the Michael Fassbender in this film is trying to keep his cool, even though everything around him is going to shit. So that worked really well for me. If I had to give any negative to the film, and even that's a nitpick, it's the opening credits and the way it transitioned into the end credits. It just felt too fast and not very David Fincher. But if anything, I would probably blame Netflix for that, for possible interference. But like everyone else, mostly not much else I can say here except this is another excellently directed film from one of the all-time greats. While it's not my favorite film of the year or even my favorite of David Fincher's, I can confidently say this is at top 3 at best. And overall, I will give the Killer a 9 out of 10. Yes, short but sweet.
Okay, and finally, for our newest member, the Austinator. The floor is yours, my man.
Yes, save the best for last. Thank you. So I kind of like a couple people on the panel, Zach and I believe Right Dude. I haven't seen all of David Fincher's films. I think the most recent films I've seen from him were Social Network and Fight Club, which I really liked. So when I heard from, I believe Mark, I think you talked about it on a backstage about this film. And when I heard that Michael Fassbender was going to be doing this, I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And honestly, I wasn't surprised because after seeing this movie, it was awesome. Um, just to get my positives out of the way, some of these are just going to be kind of quick because I think everybody's pretty much referenced them already. The cast was great, but I will say Michael Fassbender was easily the star of the show, which is ironic since he's literally the star of the film. Even though the side cast give great performances, you mainly focus on Michael Fassbender, which I thought was a pretty good thing. He plays a character who is wrestling his conscience while also hunting down, almost like on this manhunt in a way. But he's the hunter and they're the hunted, which is kind of a Doom reference there, even though not intentional. I just think it's just a kind of a coincidence. So after job goes bad, he's hunting these people down who are also hunting him down, which I thought was a very fascinating but really well done concept. The kills in this film, I think, were brutal, simple, yet effective. And that was by the way that they were shot and also the meaning behind them. I mean, probably a couple of the best ones in this movie. I don't know if this is, we could do spoilers for this, right? Just to be clear. Okay, cool. Easily the best ones in this film was where I believe it's I think it was in The Office where he shoots the guy with the nail gun like 3 times and the guy was slowly bleeding out. I was like, damn, that is awesome. And then I love I think I love the kill with the woman where she was going down the stairs and then like he snaps her neck, and it was like so brutal looking. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. And even like when he's just simply shooting people in the head, it looks so good. Like you see the impact. It all works. And I think the other thing that I really appreciate about this film is that you see the way how he disposes of evidence and make sure, and how you see his almost strategic, methodical ways of getting out of like a murder scene. Because in most movies, when the guy kills someone, they just leave the body there, and then they let like forensics find out, and you have this whole thing where they're like, oh, they died, so let's get some evidence. No, like you see him like burning down a house at one point. You see him like replacing his license plate so that they don't track him. Like you see all these different things. He's even using different names, which I appreciate, like just the little details that David Fincher uses. The sound design is great. I think you can honestly hear like everything in this film. Like it was crisp. It was all clear. The music is great too. I think that's another thing too, is that even though it's not entirely in the film, the music is done so well and it's well paced where it even like, I think I talked about this in my Knock at the Cabin review, not on stream but on Letterboxd, that great tension, and with the music you get that great tension building, and then finally once you get to that almost like not tension break, but like once the tension explodes, you really feel it. The pacing is great. The editing and pacing made this nearly 2-hour film not feel like it was 2 hours at all. Like it felt quick, which I thought was a good thing. But even though the only real nitpick I have is kind of what Rob said, I think the first 30 minutes or so was kind of slow. But that's more of a nitpick because I didn't completely hate the slow start, because I think it did a good job at setting up the tone of the movie. And overall, I just think this movie is great. I definitely will check out more of David Fincher's films after this. I will definitely say this is one of my favorites of the year and probably will be on my favorites of the year list. And with that being said, I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10.
All right. And that's that. So we have everybody's rating. So everybody has it at a 9 or above. I mean, this is fantastic.
A 9 or a 9.5.
Just saying, easily one of the best parts of the movie is when he's fighting the brute.
Oh
yeah.
That's definitely
like he punches a hole in the wall, breaking the TV, and then he's like talking like in his monologue of how to distract the dog, because it's a fucking pit bull. The thing is huge.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, I love that the thing I love about that scene, and I meant this in my review, how right before the guy he's walking through the hallway, he's saying, "Don't improvise, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Don't improvise, anticipate, and then don't stick to the plan." Boom! And he comes out of fucking nowhere, crashes right to the fucking back of him. I love it. It's such a unique moment, because it just goes to show there's no way you can plan fucking everything. Exactly. It's like, I love how Austin pointed that out, just how methodical this guy is.
Exactly.
Fucking everything, and even then, shit can still go wrong.
Exactly. Like he can pretty much like have like this big just be patient, like be calculating, like you said, method, and just like even then, shit could still go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love his character arc.
I do too.
By the end, he just has to come to terms with the fact that shit, you cannot control everything. He just kind of gets out when the getting is good. So, I mean, I love that.
Like you can pretty much plan all you want, but there's always that 1% chance that shit will go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'd say greater than 1% chance. It's like they say, one of the favorite adages in the military strategy is that no battle strategies, no battle plan survives the first shot. So I mean, what can go wrong will. There's no such thing as a perfect plan.
Exactly.
And just look at our comments
but
here.
I'm sorry.
It looks like a movie cartoon fan gave it a higher rating than us, technically.
And it's his 7th best film of the year. I would say this will probably be among my best.
Mark, you didn't give it a 10 out of 10. I thought you were going to give it.
I thought you were going.
I probably will, honestly, in retrospect, because I just love this so much. Because it works on so many levels. It works on just the level of analyze.
Yeah, I didn't even. It's funny because like a lot of the stuff I wrote in my review, like pretty much was eclipsed because of your review. Like, oh yeah, this guy's methodical. He's definitely the best at what he does. And Mark is like, no, he's not. You fucking idiot. Like,
no, it's not that, because you're right. He is that good, but even as good as he is,
no, I know, I get it. Just like I feel like the way that my review was written, it was like so like when I was saying what I was saying, it's like, wow, I don't even believe some of this now because Mark said it so much better than me. But, it's just like he got like so much more out of it. So I'm like, oh damn, no, that actually fucking makes way more sense than what I have to fucking say. But yeah, it's just like I was watching a different movie earlier today, still a very good movie, but another Netflix movie. But I was just watching it. It not a bad. It was his movie Apostle. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but it's really a very well done movie. I'm about halfway through. Very well done, great horror movie. But I was like sitting through it. I'm like, this is really good, but I really want to rewatch The Killer. Like I was just thinking about that. I'm like, damn, I really want to fucking rewatch The Killer right now. But I'm like, I gotta finish this. But it just goes to show that, like, damn, like I just feel like I need to rewatch this movie like 10 times because
the only regret I have really about this film is that I couldn't see it in the theater.
I would have loved to have seen this in theaters.
It would have been awesome to see in theaters.
It had a limited release in certain places too. It's like, plus it's David Fincher. Why wouldn't you release that in theaters?
I mean, it's 2019. Netflix movie.
Because
but then again,
the studios don't want to work with good filmmakers outside of Christopher Nolan.
I was gonna say, then again, it's not like it hasn't happened before, because in 2019, the Martin Scorsese's The Irishman came out, and that was a Netflix movie.
Yeah, I mean, he also did. I mean, technically, Killers of the Flower Moon was Apple, and I didn't think that was going to get a theatrical release. I thought that was only going to be on Apple TV Plus. But I was surprised with that guy. He probably like busted in there, fucking like with like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and like Jack Nicholson in hand, and like had them like point guns at the fucking producers and be like, "We're releasing this in theaters, whether you fucking like it or not." So,
when Marty fucking Scorsese says it's going to be released in theaters, it's going to be a release in fucking theaters.
Yeah,
and they don't care. I mean, that's I'm surprised they didn't release this in theaters, because I mean they've done it before. They did it with Roma, they do it every year because that allows them to put it up for that allows them to put it up for the Oscars. So I'm surprised they didn't.
I know they did that last year with All Quiet on the Western Front.
Ew, gross.
Del Toro's Pinocchio. That was a Netflix movie, and that
was put in theaters
at the Oscars.
Yeah,
actually, I think that did get a limited release.
It did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, although speaking of Pinocchio, that's gonna get a Criterion release later this month, I think.
Good.
Awesome.
Along with Mean Streets, and a couple others. I forget which. It's another Martin Scorsese movie. I think that Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. That was Martin Scorsese's first major film, right? Mean Streets.
Yeah, that was his first major.
Hell, at least
it's on the list, but I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen it. It's really good. Raw, but I mean, it's raw, but I mean, it's in a good way. It's really good. I mean,
does Fincher have Criterions?
Yeah, the game is a Criterion.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Interesting. 7 isn't, or The Social Network.
7.
Social Network or Fight Club.
I think Social Network or 7 might, but I know I own the game Criterion, so that's why.
Does Criterion do Blu-ray?
Yeah,
What-
no,
Yeah.
they do everything. They do.
I was gonna say, Fight-
DVD, Blu-ray, and started doing 4K recently.
Wait a minute, they don't have. Wait, Fight Club is not on the Criterion list.
I don't think so.
That's fucking sad.
would have
I don't
seen
know
that.
why. I mean,
Speaking of
it's
sad,
fucking Fight Club.
Yeah.
Because one
Well, actually, you
Criterion-
know what they did? There was a. I just looked it up. There was a limited release for The Killer. It must have been a very limited release. I mean,
No,
I'm
it was,
surprised
yeah.
it was a wider one.
Didn't pop up on my app, my Regal
Yeah.
app.
Yeah, I know. I
yeah,
mean,
I
Didn't-
looked
didn't-
for it
or
in my
by
theater,
AMC
but they
app.
didn't have it.
Or
Yeah.
by AMC app. Yeah.
well, I mean, sometimes they're very limited. Like you got to see it like
Like
basically
you have,
New York or LA or a big city. To see.
or if you're lucky enough to have like an art house theater. So although even mine probably wouldn't have those.
Yeah. So I mean, but I'm surprised they didn't have a wider one because I mean, it's David Fincher. He typically brings in. He's got a pretty good fan base. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
but
I just
I have
learned.
this,
I just learned the same writer as this Andrew Kevin Walker. He also wrote Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, and he wrote Seven.
Which I did
I
finally
wonder-
watch. I watched Sleepy Hollow. That was really good. That was surprisingly
Oh,
really good.
Sleepy Hollow was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I don't
Sleepy
really
Hollow.
like Tim Burton movies, so that was surprising to me. Yeah, fuck you, Devin.
how can you not like Tim? I mean, there's some Tim Burton movie. I think he does better with original films than remakes. But I mean,
Oh yeah.
I like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Honestly, I thought he did a pretty good job. But yeah.
I didn't hate
Yeah,
it.
you're the only one.
I didn't. The thing is, I mean, the chocolate room, the fucking effects and like setting were better, but obviously,
Yeah.
it was a bigger budgeted thing, so they could actually have a chocolate river that actually fucking looks like chocolate, rather
Yeah.
than fucking turd water from the original. As much as I love the original, but
But yeah, my favorite Burton film is still. Sorry, Devin. My favorite is still Corpse Bride.
Batman '89 for me.
Yeah, are we
All-
talking about David Fincher here?
yeah, David Fincher.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about fucking lesser filmmakers when
Wait,
David Fincher is? the
Okay,
Fincher?
let's
Fuck
speaking
you.
of it, who-
Are you,
um,
sir? Are you
what-
really gonna fucking deny me that David Fincher is a better filmmaker than Tim Burton? Come on now.
Oh God, no! Fuck no!
I mean,
I-
Tim Burton, yeah, he's very good, but fucking David Fincher, no.
Fincher's on another level. I agree.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, I love David. I love Burton, but I mean, he's done some really great stuff. But I mean, Fincher
David
is
Fincher hasn't made a bad movie yet. I mean,
Really,
as,
exactly.
as disappointing as
It's not.
Mank was, it's not a bad movie. It was just
Yeah, exactly.
like the cinematography was horrible, very poorly paced, but it was still a good movie.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
just realized I haven't seen Mank yet, but I realized
I haven't
just
seen it either.
like with the killer, Mank was a straight to Netflix movie with a limited
Yeah.
theatrical release.
He probably has a thing with Netflix. He probably has a deal
Yeah.
with Netflix right now. So.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I haven't seen Mank either.
Netflix will let him basically do what he wants and won't
Yeah.
really interfere. So I mean,
Which like fair because I mean we shit on Netflix with their shitty high prices and all that, but
Yeah.
at least they actually give real filmmakers a chance rather than
Exactly.
studios now which don't.
yeah, exactly.
Like with
So,
WB adding another tax write-off movie to the list, it's like okay.
so I mean, but I mean, anyway, what would everyone say is their top 5 David Fincher films?
Fight Club is number 1, Gone Girl's number 2. Then I would say The Game is number 3. Then number 4 is probably 7, and then 5 would be this. Although his other films like Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo,
Mhm.
they're still really good, but those are top
Yeah.
5.
I love that you put The Game number 3. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I mean, I still really love that film. It's underrated.
I was
Very
surprised with how much I loved it because I just saw it this year. Because as I said, I bought the Criterion. It was sitting in my collection, and I decided to go through all my DVDs of movies that I owned but hadn't seen yet. So I was like, okay, let me finally watch this, and it was fucking spectacular because of course
I only saw it like a few years ago, and myself, and I think it's one I can imagine it's probably one my mother had seen and loved because I knew this is exactly the type of movie she would have loved. But But yeah, I
my
mean, it's a fantastic film. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
My top
Oh.
5 Fincher would probably be. I said 7 is still my favorite. Then Zodiac number 2 probably. Then The Killer number 3. I really like those movies.
Mhm.
Then probably Fight Club at number 4, and Social Network at number 5.
For me, my top 5. Number 1 is Fight Club. Number 2 is The Social Network. 3 is Gone Girl. 4 would probably be The Killer, and then 5, I'll probably say The Panic Room.
For me,
I haven't. Oh, sorry, go on.
Panic Room's
So-
another really.
so my number one is 7. Number 2 would be Fight Club.
Mhm.
3 would be Zodiac.
Mm.
4 would be Social Network, and then 5 would be this. Although I do love Gone Girl, I do love Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I do
Yeah.
like Benjamin Button.
Oh, I like.
Although
I like
speaking of,
Benjamin Button.
I did look it up. The only 2 Criterion movies that David Fincher has are The Game and Curious Case of Benjamin Button. But Curious Case of Benjamin Button is out of print.
That's crazy.
I forgot Benjamin Button was Criterion.
But I mean, like Criterion also has Sallow and Pink Flamingos as part of their collection. So, like, you know,
At least Benjamin Button is good.
At least that's a good movie.
And some people don't like it. I mean, not
it's
so much
usually
that they don't like
considered one of the weaker Fincher movies.
Yeah,
because
it is.
like
It's the
because
least
people made the joke. It's like, oh, it's like Forrest Gump, but not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the least Fincher-like of his films. You know, it's kind of a departure for him because it's a little more optimistic, than most of his film, which are rather cynical. But it's actually, I think it's a really beautiful film. I mean, it's really good.
I wonder why Fincher went into that direction for that specific movie, which is like weird, but
I mean, I guess you could say it's kind of there is kind of a tragic aspect to it, So I think probably drew it to him, But I mean, it's still a very beautiful film. I still really like it. So
how about you, Austin?
one of his weaker ones, but
What would be your favorite of the Fincher films you've seen?
Top 5 Fincher films. Fight Club would be number 1. I would put. Hang on, I gotta think about this because this is tough. I'm gonna put Social Network at number 2. I'm gonna put The Killer at 3, but that's just because I've seen it recently. Number 4, Gone Girl, and then number 5. 7 would be my number 5.
For me, I'm going to say it's don't ask me to choose between 7 and Fight Club. I mean, I love those two so damn much. I cannot choose a number 1 between those, so I'm just going to call it a tie. It's a toss-up between those two. For the third place, after those two, the third place would be The Social Network. It is another close one, The Social Network. 4th is Gone Girl, and and again, those two could switch depending on what side of the bed I wake up on. So and 5th would be The Killer. Although there's the man, like John said, the man does not have a bad film. The man really does not have a bad film. So I mean, all the rest of them are great. I mean, like even some of the so-called lesser films, like The Game and Panic Room, are still a hell of a lot of fun. Just how well this man does tense thrillers. I mean, yeah. I mean,
he's from what I've seen of him. I do agree. There hasn't been a bad Fincher movie I have seen. Because, say with kind of like with Tarantino.
Yeah,
Tarantino's worst movies, which in my opinion are Death Proof and Jackie Brown, are still enjoyable.
Yeah, they're still really good films. Yeah. So, Jackie Brown is one I've only saw it the one time. I think that's probably the only one I haven't rewatched.
The pacing kills it for me. It's way too slow and it drags.
I would still say, even though I still like this movie, I would still say my least favorite Tarantino movie is Hateful Eight. Even though even though I still like that one.
I used to say that.
Did
I
you
used
just
to say
say?
that, Rob, but then I rewatched it, and it became one of my favorites after that. So I
Yeah,
mean,
the Hateful Eight might be my favorite. It does hit that sweet spot of like being
Mhm.
heavily influenced by The Thing, so it definitely gets me there.
Yeah.
As well as using some of the unused music from that film. So
Yep.
that is where it gets me, and it's just like a damn great movie. I would say the weakest Tarantino movie I've seen. Probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was one of those movies where it just gets worse and worse the more I think about it. I like the ending because it's just like, wish fulfillment and all that.
Yeah.
But it just like you just have to slog through like 2.5 hours of boring garbage to get there. So it was his love letter to old Hollywood, which is fine. It's just like I didn't care. There was this really funny clip that described it perfectly. He's like, this movie is the perfect suspense film. You wait for the entire time for something to happen, and it never does. So it's. And so,
I mean,
Not wrong.
that one's one of his probably his most divisive one, I would say, because fans either seem to love it or just didn't care for it. But I mean,
I've only seen it once.
Yeah,
yeah, I saw the one
I
time.
saw it
Like,
once.
nothing great.
It's probably one of his
Yeah.
weaker ones, I agree, but I mean, because yeah, I agree. Kind of the more I think about, the more weaker it gets. But I mean, I still like it. I still really like it. So I mean,
Okay.
like Death Proof, though. I mean, Death Proof is another one that's that I haven't rewatched since, but I did enjoy it. So I do really.
Isn't it kind of funny that we're supposed to be talking about this movie and David Fincher, and
It's
we move
because
on
there's
to other
nothing else to
directors?
talk about. We're all like, this movie's fucking amazing. Go
Yeah.
watch it. What else is there to say?
Now, Rob.
I was gonna put in there that I was gonna put in
Say
my
about
review.
what? Wait, what? Say about what?
Hateful Eight. The fuck did you just say?
I said I liked it. It's just my least favorite of Tarantino's movies.
Let him talk.
Seriously. Oh, thank you. I was
He's the
gonna
host. He's in charge.
I was gonna put in my review that I should probably talk to my therapist about the fact that I kind of identify with this character, at least somewhat, because I'm a perfectionist myself. I mean, I've always have been. So, I mean, that idea, at some point in your life, you just have to accept that you cannot control everything. And, except it's not really kind of like the movie, or like even the movie portrays. It's not like a one-time thing. And then,
I mean,
every day,
kind of
every day.
I mean, kind of in the great. I mean, life in and of itself, in terms of what we can and can't control. With most of life, it's not what we can control. To somewhat quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, that's chaos theory.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yes.
it's like that's what it is. Life is chaos. Get used to it.
Exactly.
You're not going to be perfect.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean,
so-
it strikes me just how much, like I said, how this really a metaphor for Fincher's career. This man searching for the perfect shot.
It's definitely, it's like in terms of commentary on themselves, it's definitely better than
Yeah.
The Visit, even though The Visit was a very good movie. Because The Visit felt more like Shyamalan, taking the piss out of himself, being like an overly pretentious filmmaker. This is kind of Fincher taking the piss out of himself.
It really is.
I always heard that Fincher is one of those directors that's like total like a nightmare to work with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a perfectionist. He's very demanding, So I mean, like Kubrick.
Yeah, like
I was gonna say Kubrick was the same way.
What was I think it was his it was Mank, Amanda Seyfried. They spent like 2 weeks on like one shot because he demanded like 114 takes of this one fucking shot.
Wow.
And Amanda Seyfried was like, fucking kill me now.
And Amanda Seyfried's a really good actress too. She actually is. So damn.
Kind of a shame that she started that for the longest time. She just started like a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone remember that Red Riding Hood movie that came out in 2010?
Yes, because my friends went to go see it without me, and they're like, "Yeah, this is garbage."
I will always associate Amanda Seyfried for myself with one of my favorite HBO series, Big Love. So, where she got her start. So,
yeah,
which
I mean, I've heard. I mean, I still stand by, even though nobody's gonna agree with me. I still stand by. She should have been Belle in Beauty and the Beast. She would have been so much better than Emma Watson. So, but
Oh, yeah?
not like
Oh yeah.
not like that would have improved the movie majorly, but it would have been better than Emma Flat Watson. So all the auto tune in the world couldn't fucking save her voice.
I was gonna say at least Amanda. What was it? Amanda Seyfried.
Amanda Seyfried.
Seyfried, and at least she could sing.
Yeah.
So, look at I'm reading this. Even David Fincher admits he's difficult to work with. The director does not allow his crew bathroom breaks and forced Robert Downey Jr. to place mason jars filled with his urine on the sets of Zodiac.
I do remember.
During the shoot of the same movie, Fincher mentally exhausted Jake Gyllenhaal by constant retakes of his scenes and then deleting them in front of him. The actor resorted to crying after seeing hours of his hard work being deleted.
Holy shit. Damn.
Wow.
Jeez.
Ugh.
Okay,
He's kind of like he's definitely a modern Kubrick in that respect, at least.
Yeah.
Mentally torture your actors until they can't go further. Yeah, that sounds.
Hey guys, hold up. I think the movie and cartoon fan here is asking for who we think the worst director in perfection is. I guess that is in the biggest perfectionist. I think we just kind of answer that with Kubrick of all time, certainly, because I mean the dude was notorious for doing. I mean, at least 100%.
He was notorious.
Yes, exactly. Really. And modern day, got to say Fincher. Jesus. So I mean,
Kubrick is definitely one. Fincher's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Kurosawa was like an infamous perfectionist too.
I can imagine that. I can see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of the greatest directors of all time were
Ridley Scott is another one.
I was gonna say, what about Alfred Hitchcock? Wasn't he like a perfectionist?
Yeah.
Yes, big time. Yeah.
The fucking
Hitchcock,
birds,
Ridley
man.
Scott.
The birds, yeah. Like he
Yes.
he had to lock one of the actresses in a room and then throw birds at her just to get a real reaction.
Yeah. He wanted
it's like they said in Disaster. That's it. The time is like, that's this guy, Alfred Hitchcock. He directs the movie Birds. He used real actor. He used real birds, Greg.
David O. Russell has always been difficult to work with. But the difference is Hitchcock, Kubrick, Fincher, they make good movies, and David O. Russell does not.
David O. Russell is David O. Russell. Yeah.
Try this one on for size. James Cameron.
Oh,
James Cameron, yes. Yeah. Ridley Scott's another big one. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like actors improving.
No, he really does not. Yeah.
Because James Cameron would hammer like people's phones to the wall. And Kate Winslet, and I think it was Kate Winslet and Ed Harris, like they nearly died.
Yeah.
Kubrick was famous for never allowing actors to improvise. Never. There was only one actor he would let do it. You know who it is, John?
Jack Nicholson.
No, well, other than Jack Nicholson. Before that, even bigger one before that.
Kirk Douglas?
No.
Malcolm McDowell.
No.
I have no idea.
Tom Cruise?
No, dear God, no, not Tom Cruise. You know from Doctor Strangelove.
Oh yeah, of course, Peter Sellers. How could I forget?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, duh. Fucking of course, Peter. How the fuck did I forget fucking Peter Sellers?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that, Mark. Gee, I feel like a fucking idiot right now.
It's all right. It's all right.
Peter Sellers. Mean, literally, the fucking movie ended on an improv. Like, how the fuck did I forget that?
Yeah, Peter Sellers was just that much of a genius.
The movie was supposed to be this entire pie fight, and Kubrick was
no, there was one. It wasn't even Jack Nicholson. No, it was the other one was actually fucking the drill sergeant
Arlie Ermy.
Earlier, me.
Arlie
Oh,
Ermy, yeah. Arlie Ermy was the only other one he allowed to.
Yeah, because Peter Sellers, it was because
What?
as everyone knows, Doctor Strangelove. Sorry, Rob, I'll let you speak in a minute. Sorry, I just got to get this thought out. But Doctor Strangelove, it was supposed to end with a pie fight. It was like supposed to be this gigantic pie fight, and it was like ridiculous. And Kubrick was like, "This is not working. This is not working." And then I think Peter Sellers did the fucking scene, and he's like, "I'm gonna use that." So he fucking ended up using that.
I was gonna say, pull up the movie and cartoon fan, because she also brought up who also is a perfectionist, Phil Lord and Chris Miller during Across the Spider-Verse, like all those animators.
Yeah.
They were in hell making that movie.
Yeah. I wonder if that was part of the problem with Solo, but from what I understand, I think that was more studio.
That was also one of the cases. Actually, it was I think it was the opposite. They can, because they were more obviously comedy actors. They continually let people improvise, like constantly on set, and people were getting like really fucking pissed. And eventually, when Lord and Miller were fired, the entire set cheered.
Jeez,
which is hilarious considering that Solo fucking sucked.
Yeah, really did.
I
It did.
Solo's fine, even though it's not necessary.
Yeah, the only reason I enjoy it, I have fond memories, is because when I went to go see it the second time, me and my friends were in an empty theater and we were just roasting the shit out of it. So it was. I have fond memories just for that. Like I have, like, oh, that was a good memory with my friends. So
One of my favorite.
That was a good time.
One of my favorite Lord and Miller films is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That movie's just
I love the first one. That's so fun. I mean, it's got Bruce Campbell. That's just like an automatic win right there.
I love that movie. Like, even if it hardly follows the book, it's just whenever I'm having a bad day and I just want to feel better and feel good, I'll pop on that movie. It's just very feel good.
You see this? This is my son Cal. What's up? Fucking Mr.
It's
T.
enough to make a grown
I
man
honestly
cry. Get back in there.
And I like the. I mean, I won't like dwell on it, but I like the sequel too. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the sequel was. I was surprised with how much I liked the sequel. It definitely looked like a cash grab, and pretty much the only thing to its name was that joke in the trailer. There's a leak in the boat. But it was surprisingly a decent movie. I mean, it wasn't great. But it was still a good time. Again, keep fucking going off topic. Remember, this is a killer review. This is David Fincher's The Killer Review. We swear.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Bringing it back to David Fincher, it seems to me that this film is very much his. Like I said, I think this is his commentary on auteur theory. You know, because he's always been called an auteur throughout his career. You know, and he kind of scoffs at that. And I think this was kind of his. You know, because the idea that the director is the major creative force. You know, that they just kind of imprint themselves in such a detailed way on every aspect of filmmaking. He's like, that's bullshit. You know, because he's an experienced enough filmmaker to know there's no way a director can control every single aspect of filmmaking.
That's also a fair point. Because again, film, because usually when it comes to a lot of art forms, it usually is just one person.
Yeah, exactly.
Like painting, writing, like all that. That's usually not always, but more often not a solo effort, or journalism, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like, and I think that was kind of one of the many reasons as to why film was not considered an art form, because it was such a huge collaborative effort that one artist can't really be attributed to its execution. So it's that's entirely possible that it's not just a commentary on him being a perfectionist, but it's also a commentary on that idea of like the dominant force behind a movie. Sure, the director could be at fault, but there's so many moving parts, so many aspects that could cause it's really is like a car, or like just like anything that's like a heavy engineering, like one small thing out of place, you're fucked, and the fucking movie fails. Like
exactly.
So it's because it could be like one, like some schmuck producer says like, oh, you shouldn't have this shot in there, and maybe that shot is integral to the entire movie, even though it is just a shot. It's just maybe a 5-second shot. Maybe it's so integral, but he's like, no, cut it for time, cut it for this, and it makes the entire movie fall apart. That is entirely the case.
Whether it's a good thing or
I mean,
a bad thing.
exactly. You've got to have so many pieces. There's a cinematographer, your cameraman. There's there's your sound design.
The actors, the fucking
the
PAs,
the editing.
the
I mean,
lighting.
editing can make or break a film.
Editing is a big thing. Like you can even fault the editor for fucking everything else. So
Exactly.
Shows that good or bad, one small thing can be the biggest thing of all.
Yeah, there's so much. Hey, look at Jaws. The Steven Spielberg experience making Jaws. I mean, the fucking shark didn't work, and serendipity wind up happening to being the best damn thing to happen that could work in the film. Even though it was a
Star
thing,
Wars was. I mean, the original Star Wars was a complete shit show.
Yeah.
But his wife, as well as many other editors, not just George Lucas's wife, but many of the editors were just pretty much saved that movie in editing because it
the movie's so good. How is it a good show?
Because there was a lot of George
making
Lucas
of it.
isms.
Yeah.
A lot of George Lucas isms that didn't get into the final cut. They was noticed in the prequels because George Lucas. How do you say no, Lord George Lucas? And then all of his mistakes, all of his directorial problems were at the forefront in the prequels because nobody would fucking say no to the guy. Meanwhile, Star Wars, he had 2 films to his name. Very good films, but still only 2 films. He was still an indie guy. So there was more of a collaborative effort there. So there was a lot more moving parts, a lot more and you could see in the deleted scenes, there was a lot of fucking dialogue moments of I don't like Santa. There was even a famous interview with Mark Hamill back in the 80s, back in the late he was doing press for I think the original or Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember. I think it was the original, where he's like, he begged George Lucas to get rid of this horrendous piece of dialogue. He's like, dude, people don't fucking talk like this. What are you talking about? I forget what the line was, but it was eventually cut out. I'll try to find the interview. But it was just, there was a lot of Lucas-isms that were cut out because it was saved during editing. So, we notice it in the prequels because nobody would say no to George Lucas.
Well, plus I think that a lot of the dialogue, even the dialogue, if you just look at the dialogue itself in the original Star Wars, it is awkward. But at the same time, it works because that cast is so good and they have such good chemistry. Plus, you have veteran actors, like Peter fucking Cushing in there, who just make it fucking work. Peter Cushing is used to bad dialogue. Shit, he was in the Hammer films. I mean, and he was fucking brilliant. Because he's great with it because he knows how to you just say the fucking thing. You just take it seriously. So shit, they made it work. I think the best thing he did with the originals was to cast Han, Luke, and Leia as an ensemble because the chemistry was the heart of that film.
Yeah. And the second best thing he did was take other people take the reins for the sequels.
Yeah, exactly. Better. Like Ben Burtt, who did his sound design on all of the fucking films, that's why the sound design is so fucking phenomenal on all those films. Yeah. Because Ben Burtt is a fucking genius at sound design. Shit.
Yep.
So, but
again,
film is a collaborative effort.
Track.
Yeah, but I mean, we are though. We're talking about related issues, though. We're talking about how
because again, it's as I said before, it's hard to just keep going on a movie you like. It's hard to hard to dissect a movie you like. Sure, you can discuss the themes, but even then, it's still hard to just say as many times as you want. This is amazing. This is great. This is phenomenal. This is superb. You could say that until the cows come home. It's still hard to critique, something because the whole point of critiquing is to notice the flaws in something and the pros and cons. It's just like with The Killer, it's just so good at what it does. The most we have are nitpicks, so there's not much to talk about. So I do feel kind of bad that this is an hour-long review and only a quarter of it is actually talking about the fucking movie. But, it's there's only so much we can say.
Exactly. I mean, what more can we say other than go see it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there is some really great dialogue in this film. I know this is kind of going off on a tangent, but one of my favorite lines in the film, like Devin said, when the great dialogue, but one of my favorite lines in the film was when he says a lot of people mistake skepticism for skepticism for cynicism. You know, and I wondered if that was a bit of a commentary because his films have been pretty dark, you know. So I mean, when he's saying, "Look, I'm not a skeptic,"
Okay.
you know, so.
And I do like how it does feed into, you know, fed into the whole nihilism, like his monologue earlier on in the movie, like pretty much the entire like opening, you know, act essentially in Paris, where he was talking about like how life isn't fair, it's all about cynicism, and I'm like, that's the David Fincher I know. So, you know, I really liked that. And it just like I want, because when it was the opening scene, I was wondering, I'm like, okay, is the entire movie gonna be like this? Which I wouldn't have minded, but I'm like, I was kind of glad that it got out of there, but like even then, it was still like so well done that it definitely fed into what's the right word for it? It just fed into all the right spots, I guess. Like because it's one of those movies where it's just like, if this was under anybody else, it would have sucked. I guarantee you, it would have fucking sucked. Because my family and I watched this with my parents, and they my dad and my mom love the fact. My mom doesn't really like movies like this, but she watched it anyway. She thought it was good, but my dad and I really loved it. But they liked the fact that like the sitcom characters were all the aliases, so they kept pointing out. I'm like, hey, which one is this from? Which one is this from? Like, oh, Felix Unger got The Odd Couple. Oh, Archie Bunker from. I thought that was really creative.
I love that.
But yeah, we were kind of making fun of the fact, like, is this just gonna be like this guy gets revenge and then gets off scot-free? And it's like, yeah,
exactly.
That's it. But like, it's just like under like someone now. I don't mean to badmouth other films, especially films I majorly like. But if this was under like David Leitch or Chad Stahelski, as great as those guys are, like if they did something like this, it would have been like generic as hell. It would have been boring. It would have been terrible because it's just like it's a predictable story. It's so predictable. As I said, you see it coming from a mile away, but you don't expect it to be like it's just like the fucking genius behind David Fincher. It's predictable, but you don't expect it to be predictable, so that it ends up not being predictable, despite the fact it is technically predictable. Like, how the fuck do you make that work?
What gets me, John, is this guy managed only fucking David Fincher. He's one of the very few people who could take something that fucking mundane and make it absolutely fascinating. We're just watching this guy sitting around doing fucking nothing but talking to himself in his head, and it's the fucking most interesting shit. It's like, god damn. I was sitting there in awe of this, like, fuck, man.
This motherfucker's spitting.
Off. Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, Jesus.
And I just gotta say, if it weren't for X-Men or the Alien prequels, this would be my favorite performance from Michael Fassbender.
It's definitely the best I've seen from him.
Exactly. But yeah, I love how, and he just constantly, because like John said, a lot of directors would have taken that and would have made him this ultra, smart, ultra impressive serial killer who just, this perfect serial killer, who or hitman who
and it would have fallen into the conventions, it would have fallen into those same, like, I can't, like, it probably the best thing I could probably compare it to is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, because that was like, he fucked up at the end of Chapter 2. He kills the guy in the Continental, so now he's on the run. But the thing is, as much as I love Parabellum, honestly, more so than other people do, because I think Parabellum is considered one of the weaker ones.
I love Parabellum.
I thought Chapter 3 was excellent, but like, it still falls into those conventions. But the thing is, the way it does its action is its saving grace. So that's where it goes. Even though it is predictable, it still has that action and that like character for John. So so that's the through line. But for what Fincher is doing it's the through line is just being great, like just Fincher being great at what he does, because
Mhm.
you expect it, but you don't expect it, and it's just like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. But because by the end, I was like, oh, that's it, but like not in a bad way, but like not
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
was disappointed, not the fact that I hated it. I'm like, wait, that's it, but I'm like, that is it,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
That's it.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
it's just
it.
like I know. I
Wow.
was like, wow, that's it. It's like, holy shit. I'm like, holy shit. He actually just gave up the life. I mean, now he's with his girl.
He
It's
just
like,
did it. He just like
yeah,
that's how it's like it's just point A to
exactly.
point B.
I love the
Like,
way he flips that quote. And like when he's out killing, he's like, maybe you're not one of the few. And then at the end, he's like, maybe you're not one of the few. Maybe you're just like me, one of the many. I mean, he's like, fuck, I'm perfectly fine with not being a cold-blooded killer anymore. Fuck it.
It's
So,
funny.
because the thing is,
He actually-
because I fully expected, both me and my dad were expecting this. It's like, oh, it's gonna have that big scene where he finally confronts the guy. It's gonna be mano a mano. It's gonna be
Yeah,
a fight
I
to
know.
the death. It's
Mhm.
gonna
Let
be
him go.
a huge fucking
Yeah,
thing. And the
Yeah,
guy,
I
the
know.
client is just this dweeb, and he lets him
Yeah.
go.
I fully expected John on the way out for him to show that he had left something, like maybe like that the radioactive thing on his coffee cup or whatever. And he had some way to kill him. So I'm like, nope, that's it.
That's it. That's it.
Like,
Like,
damn. Fucking
God,
David.
like this
holy
movie
shit.
really just gets more impressive the more I fucking.
It really
talk about it.
does, man. I fucking love it. Jesus, David Fincher's a fucking genius, man.
It's funny how we're all saying that we can't say much about a film we love, yet here we are gushing about it.
That's
Yeah.
the power of Fincher.
Exactly.
Because it just like I couldn't really think about anything else to say, but then when I get on a tangent, sorry. So I
Yeah.
apologize,
Yeah.
but like,
It's fine.
But
I
no,
was gonna say,
you're making some good points too, because at first I thought I was gonna hate the ending when I saw what he did. I was ready to be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But then I see what they're ultimately trying to do with the characters in it. It almost made sense almost immediately.
Yeah, and my dad was talking about because the Equalizer 3 just came out this year. I haven't seen it yet, but I do plan on it, even though it didn't get good reviews. And my
Don't
dad
see
was
it.
like, "Who do you think would win between the Killer and the Equalizer?" And I'm like, "I think the Equalizer, because when he's fighting that guy, he's barely keeping up. Like he's barely
Yeah,
holding his own. So it's like it shows that he's good from a distance. He's good as a shooter, as a shootist,
Yeah.
even though he does fuck up. Clearly, he didn't fuck up the fucking multitude of times he did do this. But hand to hand, no, he barely skirted by this. The fact that he lived
I
is
love
like a
that.
fucking
Yeah.
miracle.
And the way he had talked earlier about not improvising, and then he does just that when he just reaches to the drawer, pulls out something, he's looking for a knife. It's a fucking little cheese grater and shit.
And you can even see again with the fucking dry humor that I love. He just looks at
Yeah.
him.
Like,
Okay,
he
like
throws it aside to distract him. It's brilliant. Like he improvises, and it's brilliant. It's like, well, you're damn good at improvising. You should keep doing
and
that.
maybe it's like maybe it's just a thing that goes kind of full circle about it, where it's like it is Fincher. Maybe it is like it goes from him commenting about himself, but then it just maybe goes full circle back into narcissism, where
Mhm.
he's like, where he's saying not to do all these things, and he's commenting on not doing these things, but then despite everything, with improvising, with being, with wanting revenge, with making it personal, all this other stuff, he's still amazing at what he does, and he lives by the end. So maybe it's like, maybe it's also sure him commenting on it, but it's also, hey, I'm still fucking great at like, despite the fact I'm doing everything I'm not supposed to do. Maybe it's Fincher being like, yeah, I might be a perfectionist, but I'm still fucking amazing. So go fuck yourself.
Oh yeah,
So,
exactly.
Like, it could be that
I'm
as
still
well.
David
It could be
fucking
that.
Fincher, bitch. Exactly. So I guess our judgment at the end of the day is
I like it.
It's on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix. Go
Exactly.
on.
If you have
Yeah.
Netflix, if you have Netflix, or if you know anybody that does, you have no excuse not to watch it.
I did give it, I probably will wind up just saying 10 stars. I might as well because I did give it 5 stars on Letterboxd. So, I mean, and like I said, this is probably.
It's I don't know, like I don't know, it's just like maybe there's just something about it that like I can't like make it like a perfect score. Maybe it is the credits like Zach was talking about. Because it was weird. I was like, it was kind of disconcerting a little bit. It's
At the
like, whoa,
beginning,
whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa.
At the
Yeah.
beginning, disconcerting.
A little
Weird.
disconcerting. But I
Even
mean,
though I like the music though, because I mean that Trent Reznor did the fucking sound on this.
yeah, even though even from what I remember, there wasn't a lot of music. I don't remember a lot of music. Maybe it was
the sound design was very
sound
solid.
design. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the sound design. Sound design was excellent. I'm talking about the music because the only thing I remember is the Smiths. Maybe the Smiths.
I mean, there was some subtle
everything else.
background music, and it's very unsettling. It's very fucking unsettling. Jesus, I mean,
maybe I just didn't think about it because it's not like bombastic. But
Yeah,
like,
because
what I
it's
remember of the music,
love it.
despite what little there was, it still worked and it was still very good. So
one of the things I loved is I love how when they were playing the Smiths, like he has it in his ears. It just kept going in and out because I mean, like he's talking, it goes out, and then it comes back to him blaring. I'm like, oh god, I love that. Oh, jeez.
Because it's almost like disconcerting to us as the viewer to like not like get comfortable. Maybe something like that.
Exactly.
As well.
Exactly. He's really throwing us off. So, final thoughts?
Kind of ironic. Before we log off, kind of ironic you mentioned that Trent Reznor, which Nine Inch motherfucking Nails, man. You guys know I love me some Nine Inch Nails.
Fuck yeah.
Him and Trent and Atticus Ross also did the score for The Social Network. I'm pretty sure they won. They won something.
Oh yeah, every movie they've composed either together or separately have always been fantastic.
Absolutely, and also David Fincher did direct a music video for Nine Inch Nails. He directed the music video for Only.
Yep.
I mean, the man has directed so many music videos. Like his filmography on IMDb is like over 100, and like 90% of it is just music
videos.
Yeah, he directed for Michael Jackson, Rick Springfield, Eddie Money, Madonna, Paula Abdul, Billy Idol, Iggy Pop. Like, these
I mean,
perfect
John Wayne, Thriller. I mean, shit. Which makes sense with Thriller, a fucking short film, I mean, yeah.
Martin Scorsese did. Martin Scorsese directed Bad.
Yeah. Martin Scorsese did a music
documentary. Cartoon Network show.
Yeah, he did Vinyl. He was a producer on Vinyl. That show, it lasted a couple seasons. And then he also did, what was it, The Last Waltz? No, not The Last Waltz. Yeah.
He did a documentary for the band, right?
I think so. I know he did. He's done Martin Scorsese has done a bunch of music. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of his documentaries that he's done. Like I've seen almost all of his regular narrative films. But I mean, as far as the documentaries and shit.
Yep, The Last Waltz was that was about the band.
Yeah, that was about the band. Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your obligatory cameo from the Cool Kids mascot. You're welcome.
By the way, the movie and cartoon fan is a fan of your cat.
Pussy, Zach.
Yep, she's my baby.
He likes her. So. Final thoughts, kind of wrap this up.
Go watch it. Bye.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go see it.
It's the best film Fincher has made in years. So
watch more David Fincher and let it drift you towards other David Fincher films. The man has an amazing filmography. You won't regret it.
Indeed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Our next review, I think it's supposed to be. I think we're doing the Marvels this week, right?
Going from the Killers to the Marvels. I am very
but
sorry.
On the other hand, after that,
the mediocres.
We have a couple fantastic ones coming up. There's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and after that, Fucking Napoleon, baby.
Speaking
Even
of
La
Scott,
Ferrero.
Ridley Scott, baby.
Really, motherfucking Scott and Joaquin Phoenix together again. Holy
and
fuck.
it's a movie that was made for the fraction of a Marvel movie, yet just from the trailers, it looks better than all of them.
Oh, God, yes. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. I'm going to have to go see this for myself. I'm going to nut all over myself when I see this in the theaters. I swear to God.
Dude, I am so excited for freaking Napoleon. Just
Yes.
mostly just
Napoleon is.
it's not good.
Movie and cartoon fan, why the hell, dude? Why the hell would you remind me of that fucking piece of shit, man?
Wait, what was it?
The Candyman remake.
Oh,
Nia
yeah.
DaCosta.
That's not a remake.
I haven't seen
Shame,
it.
because Nia DaCosta is actually a pretty good filmmaker. I believe the first feature was very good, but yeah, I think
The
she-
White
The thing
Man.
is, my excitement for Napoleon isn't so much that I know a lot about that history. It's more or less just because it's another Ridley Scott movie. So that's my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All right, let's end this.
Let's end this.
once again, we have brought light into the universe. You're welcome, America.
You're welcome, America.